What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Storytime. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are here today with an absolute weapon of a human being, Faeez, the troublemaker, Jacobs. Guys, thank you so much for coming in today. I appreciate your time.
It's a pleasure. I look forward to telling you all about my weaponry.
Yeah, there we go. I like that. We had a little bit of chat outside and kind of got into it. I have so many questions for people within your position. But before I get into the questions, I wanted to give everyone a little bit of backstory into where you've come from and how you've made it to this point in terms of the fights that you've had and your current position. So you are the former Bantamweight Champion. You had beaten Zulu, correct, for the title.
That's the one.
And you are currently the #1 contender in the country for the title again, which will be happening shortly.
Yes, 100%.
There we go. So I'm so stoked for that fight. So we'll get into your prep for that and how you're feeling about everything going there. But what was awesome about your story was that you reign out of the Cape Flats / Mitchell's Claim.
Yeah.
Correct. You represent as Mitchell's Claim.
100% black.
Yeah. You were formerly an Uber driver with a dream of becoming a professional fighter.
Yes, there's some combos in there.
Go for it.
So I was a waiter. I used to work as an extra. I used to do promotional work. So I basically did everything I could do part-time. As long as I could continue training and continue fighting. Yeah. And interestingly enough, that's actually how I got Uber driving. Is actually how I got my EFC contract.
Really?
Yeah. So I went to watch the fights at EFC.
Great.
This is actually a bantamweight title fight that I went to watch.
No way.
Yeah. So it was the Martpena Isha Sayed, the first one.
Okay.
And they fought each other, and I was live for it. And personally, I felt like there's a lot of holes in this game. And I left. I immediately started working. So I took off from work to watch the event, and then started working again. Some of the guys that were in the media was in my Uber. So I kept quiet for a whole good 15 minutes until I was like, guys, you're missing details here. Okay, we were superior in footwork. He had better kicks. I like the way he was using the clinch. And they're like, what the hell kind of Uber driver are you? And I was like, I'm a fighter by trade. That's my profession. And at that point, I'd been a multiple-time kickboxing champion.
Okay.
So I held 4 titles in kickboxing, and I had debuted recently that year. So I fought twice in amateur MMA, but because I was professional in kickboxing, there was only a certain amount of opponents I could fight in MMA before I ran out of guys at amateur. So
really? So because you had such credential to your name, they wouldn't allow you
to compete against amateurs anymore. So they had to nitpick 2 guys. The one guy was undefeated in 6 fights, and the other guy was also a pro in kickboxing that was named me.
Jeez, okay, so they had to find as evenly a match as possible.
Yes.
So that was I guess, fair.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I also don't understand that because you've put all the effort in to be that good. And then it's like, oh, sorry, being that good is a hindrance.
It's an advantage if I'm fighting somebody that's not that good. And then I finished both those fights in knockouts. One time
so I put them both to sleep and then kind of moved on.
Yeah. And then so I started showing them my highlights while I was driving. So my phone was there, and then I was just like showing highlights, and the dude was like, I want to have you on my podcast. So the guy's name is Big L.
Okay.
And he was like one of the bigger podcasts at that time in MMA. And he had me on the podcast, and then he told me he's going to speak to Graham Cartmel, the EFC matchmaker.
Yes.
And Monday morning, I had an EFC contract.
No ways.
Yeah.
Just with sharing knowledge and your history with these 2 guys.
The right place at the right time with the right alignment. And
meant to be.
It was meant to be.
Yeah.
And that's what I had been chasing. I was saying in my last fight, this is so crazy, because in my last fight when I knocked the other guy, the last guy out, he was out for a while, so respectfully I had to wait till he woke up.
Okay.
And I took the mic and I said, so I've been grinding my way through the Cape Town guys. I'd like a shot at Africa. Let me hear some noise for EFC. And the crowd goes, so you can do better than that. Let me hear some noise for EFC. I'm like, I think you heard that, EFC. Let's give the people what they want.
You can't deny that.
Yeah, that was the post-fight speech after my last
Cool, okay. And then it happened. I was actually talking with a friend yesterday. We were at the gym, sitting at the coffee shop, we're having a coffee, having a chat, and we were talking about timing and how there's a lot of very successful people that will equate being ready 24/7 because not knowing when the right timing was going to come. And through failure and through mistakes, you would attempt, and eventually one of those attempts would land, and that would be the one that breaks.
Yes.
And this is such a story of that you'd already manifested where you wanted to be, and you'd already put all the effort in of like, if I believe it and I make it real every day, eventually the timing's right.
100%.
Timing is perfect.
I have done this several times throughout my career.
Yeah.
So several times I said, by year end, I'm gonna win this championship.
Yeah.
By year end, I'm gonna be a kickboxing champion and so and so.
Yeah.
I've even gone as far as saying, any one of my limbs land, and his face will hit the canvas.
Yeah.
When I knocked that guy out, he fell face first. So
it's that specific.
That's specific. So I've created these moments, but there's like an insane amount of what's the word, balance that you need. It's physical, it's mental, it's spiritual. So you really need to feel this and be absorbed by this and dedicate yourself to the process and believe that you are going to achieve it.
Yeah.
100%. And just don't doubt that for a second. And it sort of plays itself out that way. It's like I believe we were born to be creators. I believe that we were born with a piece of us that has godlike potential, because he wasn't going to make us to just exist. He was going to make us to live the greatest possible life we could live. Yeah. And for us to be, I was like, we are so complex. We've got so much layers to us. We've got so many ways of creating and existing that who are we to not believe we are infinite?
Yeah.
It's denying, to put limitations on the human spirit and the capacity of a human being is truly shameful. I believe that we should live to our fullest potential, and I think that we have some sort of connection to it. We are the remote that presses the button to the channel that we end up being featured on.
Yeah, it's a perspective on life, right? On you saying that idea of manifestation and making what's in your head reality, right? And there's so many famous quotes on it. You can think it.
Yes.
It was Conor McGregor. If you can think it and you can see it, you can do it, or something like that. Awesome. Who the fuck is that guy? I love that one. But speaking on manifestation, looking into your upbringing, your childhood, where you've come from, this idea of such a positive outlook and such a manifestation of success and of greatness, where did that come from? Was that you sitting in your room kind of being like, you'd seen something and something clicked for you and you'd made that connection and you knew? Or was it from a fatherly or motherly figure? Was it a friend? Like, what started this like greatness way of thinking?
That's a brilliant question. First time I've been asked that question. Awesome. I can't wait. So I feel like I was the complete opposite for most of my life.
Okay.
I was the exact opposite of what greatness was. I was forgettable. I was ignorable. I was not featured. I was not awarded very often. I was not really pick worthy. I wasn't a positive person. I was very pessimistic. I was weak. I looked for the easy way out. I was spoiled in a lot of senses, mainly because I chose that. And I had arrived to things that I really wanted several times, hundreds of times, and I was just too weak to take it.
Yeah, you do.
I was just too weak to be able to fulfill myself in that moment, to be who I wanted to be. I was too soft to actually push the button, to actually take the step, to actually say yes, to actually ask, to put my best foot forward. And a hell of a lot of bullying, a hell of a lot of moving, a hell of a lot of being in these situations and being the new guy and being the unfamiliar guy and just feeling like I didn't have a place, and consistently finding myself there, and then listening to people speak as if that didn't need to be my reality.
Okay.
As if I could be more than that. As if I could transcend that. Bruce Lee was the first guy.
Really?
Bruce Lee was the first guy. I looked at Bruce Lee and I was mesmerized. Yeah. I looked at this guy he wasn't incredibly bulk. He was a skinnier guy. And even when he was wearing his clothes, you couldn't see what Bruce Lee was made of. And then there's the scene where he takes off his shirt and he goes,
I know what scene you're talking about. Yeah.
He goes to full on warrior. Yeah. Full on warrior. No doubt. No second guessing. No putting himself down. In that moment, he's only but the moment.
Yeah.
And his philosophies spoke to my soul. And I started to build myself around his image. I wanted, at some point, my first goal in life, my first real goal was to achieve a type of body like Bruce Lee.
Okay.
I wanted to look fight ready like Bruce, before I was even a fighter. That was one of my first biggest goals in life. Like I was convinced by the end of this, I'm gonna have to achieve. This is what I would train for. And
what was your reasoning for that? Because my head, I was bullied as a kid as well. My head goes to the space of like, oh, if I look like that, then people will leave me alone.
I think I more wanted to be able to kick someone through the air.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The one, you know, the famous Bruce Lee kick where you just,
send them. Okay.
It's the side kick. I actually, if you can remember this, I kicked Zulu like that in the championship fight.
There was
a side kick where I make him fly.
What was the kick that you hang?
No, that is a flying kick.
There was the jumping kick to the face.
Yeah. Slightly different.
That one.
I'll tell you where that one comes from also.
Okay.
But let me just clear up on the. So high school and sort of where Troublemaker came from is the bullying became a lot worse.
Yeah.
And I would come home every day and I'd stand in the mirror and I'd have that speech with myself. Why didn't you stand up for yourself? Why didn't you punch him in the face? You could have taken that guy. You had everything. You just backed off. Why did you just back off? And that was a constant reoccurrence. Somebody would mess with me and I'd just back off. I'd just do nothing. Guy would grab me in the chest, slap me in the face, whatever it was, and it got very degrees worse. And I'd just find myself just freezing and doing nothing. And then I'd go home and I'd scold at myself in the mirror. Tomorrow's the day. Tomorrow's the day I'm going to punch someone in the face. And it was a motivational speech, and I'd really get myself geared up. I'd listen to Eminem music, get really angry. And what I did was, and this is sort of where the Troublemaker story comes from, is I built this persona. I needed to build this guy that was free of fear. That was not going to just fall to the inhibition that was in front of him, just cower all the time. So what I did was I created obstacles of maximum fear.
Okay.
To persuade myself to overcome it. So, and it was usually just crazy shit. So, but steal a box of chocolates at the tuck shop.
I see.
Write the FU word all over the walls, because it became my little secret. It became my little way of feeling that fear. Every time somebody walked past the word, every time a teacher noticed it, I felt that fear, and then I tried to find a way to control it. Eventually, over a number of these instances. Like, I mean, the list goes on and on. Stealing the bell from school, bullying, and then it got to the point where I was confronted with a situation. I was sitting in class, and I had now been acting out this troublemaker thing for well over 6 months. I was now seen as the delinquent I wanted to be seen as. And somebody threw me with a piece of paper. It was a piece of newspaper with a stone that wrapped around. A newspaper was wrapped around a stone. So it hit me in the side of the face. It smelled like, it felt like a clean slap.
Like,
And I felt angry, but there was a calmness that came over me. I knew what I was gonna do, and I knew what I was about to do, and I was okay to accept it.
Yeah.
Usually I'd feel this overwhelming fear that almost feel like it could shut my throat out. It could choke me to death.
Yeah.
And I put my pen down, I got out of my desk. And one guy was laughing. He's pointing at the other guy. But I know the guy that's laughing is the guy responsible.
Okay.
And he was one of the guys that was known for bullying. And I walked over as if I was going to get to the guy that he was pointing at. I turned and I turned over my shoulder. I just punched him square in the face. And I just kept hitting him. And like, I think 9 punches later, he was laying in the chair. And I stood over him. He sat up as if he was going to get up. I punched him another 2 to 3 times. And then I was like, what now? And he sat there and he just shook his head. I walked back to my desk.
Yeah.
And I like, the smile you see on my face now is probably the smile I had. I tried my best.
Not to
I tried
smile.
my best not to smile.
To be badass.
I just walk away like, I just, and it was one of the most freeing feelings I ever had. I got back home that day and I couldn't believe who I had been in that moment.
Yeah.
And I decided I was never going back.
Okay.
I was never going back. Obviously, then that violence had a negative route for a while.
For sure.
Before martial arts was the...
But it's also someone in your position. It's someone that's been constantly beat down and made to feel small. And then suddenly you break through that and you realize, oh, I've got this. I have the strength. I have this power. Now it's there.
Also,
It becomes this free flow, right?
like when I was being bullied, there was always spectators not doing anything about it. So for me, like, half the stuff that was happening, I didn't see as wrong anymore because it had been done to me for so long. So I didn't think inflicting a violence on somebody else was a bad thing. So when I inflicted it, was this is the way of the jungle.
Yeah.
I'm now the lion and you are not anymore.
Yeah.
And
it's very survival.
Yeah.
It feels very. It's either going to be me or you.
Yeah.
And it's there's a whole controversial topic on the idea of, you know, like, bullying is because hurt people, you know, like that kind of aspect to it. But there's also, to breed into that idea, growing up and becoming a man and feeling taken advantage of and feeling like you aren't worth anything. And it's so many times people try to like reiterate the message of, like, hey, if someone's hurting you, walk away. Hey, if someone's hurting, you know, trouble on your name, trouble can follow you to the point that it's like sometimes you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And it's going to be that moment to step up and be like, okay, now I've had enough.
Or deny that you have any self-worth.
Exactly. There's only 2 outcomes in it, right?
Yeah.
It's either going to go really negative for you, or it's going to go really negative for the other person because you hit them in the face. I'd rather have them deal with that momentary feeling of, oh, someone hit me in the face, maybe I shouldn't do that to them again.
Yeah.
Rather than have the smaller than child had this longevity of feeling worth.
Yes.
You know, like, dude, I got bullied in like grade 2, like really bad. It used to beat me up every day. That was like the routine of the day, right? To this day, I still look at that and I have like not an anger anymore, but I have like a frustration of that same feeling of, like, I had 365 days. Why not one of them did I get up and go like, no, it's time for me to throw it back? Like, And I never did. I got removed out of the school. I got put in a different school.
Yes.
Had to get put through, child psychology and this whole thing. Thank you to my parents for solving the problem for me. But like, I never did that. You know, I never stood up and went like, actually, it's my time to like throw back. And I don't have regret of it, but I always have that thought, of like, what would have happened if I did? Who would I have been for those years leading up? Now that you'd found that strength and you'd found this, like, okay, this is the person I wanted to be. Now in that person. When did MMA step in, and how did it step in to then kind of save the day in terms of putting this power that you'd found in such a positive direction?
Oh, that's the way you worded that was absolutely beautiful. So I moved schools. So I was at the school for one term. So I had been moving, like, I lived in 22 households. I went to like 9 different schools. So my most stable home is in Mitchell's Plain. And that was with my grandparents.
Okay.
So I left schools and I moved to this new school. And they were doing this thing where they were having brawls with MMA gloves. And MMA was like starting to surface now. It was Anderson Silva, it was John Jones, and everybody was excited about it. And the school that I went to was quite an awesome school. What happened was they had 2 guys fighting and they had MMA gloves on, and it's fight till first blood. So the first person that bleeds loses.
Good.
Crazy. I'm just sitting now here in the retrospect and thinking to myself, I wonder if that guy would have fought me if he knew I'm going to be telling this story for so many years.
Right, how crazy, eh? He's at home, doesn't fight professionally now.
Yeah, he's just moved on.
Yeah.
And just watch this guy beat this other guy up. And it wasn't a glamorous fight. The one guy got hit one time and he realized this guy can hit him really hard, and then he just blocked. Until eventually he basically said, oh, my mouth is bleeding, and then the fight was stopped. Yeah, because he didn't want that.
Okay.
And then something just nudged me forward. And I just watched this guy beat this other guy. And this guy still got the gloves on and wants to fight more.
And now you've got to...
And now I stepped forward. And it was this intuitive nudge. Just something said, you want to do this. And I couldn't deny it. Like, I was afraid. Because it's like, this guy's, we agreeing to fight each other. I'm not going to get the first punch here or catch him off guard. We're going to agree to fight each other.
Yeah.
And I get nudged forward. I put the gloves on. It feels like one of the best things I've ever put on in my entire life. And, it feels like it belongs on my hands.
Yes.
And him and I go at it, and I'm fostering it. And I watched fighting, and I've watched fighting movies my entire life. I could watch the same movie, like Undisputed, Yuri Boyka.
Yeah.
I'd probably watch that movie over 300 times. Like, I would watch that on repeat. And because of watching movies like that, I knew something instinctively inside of me knew how to fight. So I knew hands up. I knew what the jab was, I knew what the right hand was, I knew what the hook was.
Really, you were that...
I was
deep in.
my mind was that invested. I was that fascinated by it that I had been capturing data my entire life.
Yeah.
And when it came to the moment, my body knew what to do.
It could recall.
Yeah, this is correct. And I hit that guy so fast with a 1-2. Like I caught him flush, and his head went back, and it's the first time I hit somebody that clean.
Yeah.
I also think due to my relaxedness, because we weren't fighting out of anger, we were fighting out of competition.
I see.
Due to my relaxedness, my punch was probably just a lot more loose, and I hit him back. And for a second, I was standing there checking if he's alright, and he came back and we started wailing on me.
Really?
And he's just throwing shots. My hands was up, and some came through, some didn't come through, and I fell on a grass roller. And I tried to stand up, and he pushed me, and then he punched me while I was over this grass.
Okay.
And they stand us up and they bring us back to the center, and I feel any empathy I could possibly have
Gone now.
just leave. My sense of mercy is gone now, and I feel a shift in myself of complete focus. And I threw one combination. I went for the 1-2. After I threw the one, I just showed him the right. And when he looked at, as he looked at it, the left was already swinging around his guard.
It's well done.
And boom, the left hook catches him on the eye. And it's the most clean shot ever. And he closes his eyes and he puts his hands up in physical surrender. When he opens his eye, blood runs down his eye. And it's this crazy warm feeling I get up inside my back, and I'm like, this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life.
That was the moment.
That is the moment.
Was that,
this is my path now.
Was that feeling of, because the push over the grass roller, I remember those grass rollers.
Yeah.
From school. The push over the grass roller again put you in that position of being inferior, and him taking advantage of pushing you down, seeing your track,
yes,
wouldn't have come through. That's what broke that level of like playful sort of mercy that you still had.
Yes.
Did that recall the same feeling for you when you finally stood up for yourself in the classroom?
That actually, now that you say, I hadn't thought of it, but yeah.
That's
just
that moment of like, hey, it's done.
What it is now, if I put it into words now, it's calm, focused, and compassionless.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Calm, focused, and like just no compassion.
Yeah.
That's I still go to that feeling. That is still my ideal way of performing in a fight, is that exact feeling there.
Yeah. And through training, what I've in the very limited amount that I've done within any form of martial art, but what I've learned from so many people and watched so many people learn as well, not only are you learning the actual physical skill of fighting, but you're learning that.
Yes.
You almost learn the switch.
Yes.
Instead of it switching emotionally and it becoming this like, which is the irony is that that's how people watch MMA.
Yes.
That they watch it with this like, yeah, fucking bad. They're not so emotional about it.
Yeah.
But watching it, like when we watched Terrence's fight in Joburg, was the first time I'd ever seen an MMA fight live. Thank you to Dylan. And it was very different to what I thought it would be. I thought it would be someone backstage, like you say, Eminem music.
Yes.
Everyone getting so pumped to run out. Because the complete opposite. There's a sparring, they calm, everyone's whispering, sitting down, pray, quiet, I was so taken aback at that, like, oh wow, it's that control.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was your moment of identifying that switch of like, cool, it's game over now.
That switch is one of my favorite places in the world.
Yeah.
When I can make that switch.
Yeah.
It's also because what happens is you learn to tune out certain things. You learn that anger has no place in martial arts. You learn that is just gonna make it so that you have a big adrenaline dump and you get tired and you don't see clearly what's happening. So you're trying to, it's actually it's a compensation for fear, in my opinion.
I think so as well. I think you've nailed it. Yeah.
I think you're just trying to mask behind something that you think is tough.
Yeah.
But you don't really know true toughness.
Exactly.
To get myself into that state, to that ideal state, takes a whole training camp. Training camp, I don't just train physically. I train mentally as well.
Yeah.
I love in that arena. I love in that calmness. I have to find that calm state. I have to find that calm state when I'm cutting weight and I'm hungry. I have to find that calm state when I'm about to Shark Tank. I have to find that calm state when I'm finding bodies outside that are unfamiliar to me, that is expecting to square off with an ex-champion. Yeah. And there's no remorse once the bell rings. So I don't know what this guy is coming for, what he's aiming to do. Is he trying to prove himself? Is he trying to knock me out? What situation am I going to be in here? And the thing that gets me through is the mental fortitude. 100% you have to discipline your mind. Otherwise you'll be met with very uncomfortable situations that you will not be able to process your way through.
You'll have all the physical talent and skill in the world, but not mentally be able to hold yourself in the right space to actually utilize that skill.
Right.
why did you choose to go into kickboxing and into the specific styles that you've chosen from so early on?
So being in Mitchell's Plain, it was very difficult to find an MMA job. So the only thing I could find was boxing. So I was willing to do whatever it took to improve, to get towards my goal. Like I said, Bruce Lee was my mentor, so I followed his advice from like 16 years old. So Bruce Lee would say, do everything towards your goal. Do something towards your goal every day.
Yeah.
And that was, I followed that advice since I was 16. So I had a training regime at 16 years old. From that age, I went vegetarian at that stage. I tried out a different diet. I had been training Monday to Thursday. That was my strict training time.
And that's all by you.
That's all just for me. Yeah.
At 16.
I took
16.
I committed to the process. I said 100%, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. This is the only thing in life that I had really felt that level of attachment to. I felt like the best version of me doing this. And I had been longing for that side of me that was capable. And that like it really increased the level of self-love I had for myself. So I was willing to commit to myself to be better for myself. And along the journey, like I had picked up bad habits from growing up and hanging around people that didn't have interest in sports, for example. So like, funny enough, I smoked for 4 years. The minute just after training. So just as I started competing, I quit.
Okay.
Because I decided this was it. I was gonna give up everything for this.
Jeez.
I stopped hanging out with certain crowds. I just completely dedicated myself to this process. I remember even with my fiance now, we went on our first date, and I said to her that if you can understand that this goal will come first in me, then I can love you with everything I have. I didn't say in exactly those words. That's what. So I said, if you can understand that the goal comes first in me, and that you second, then I'm happy to go forward.
Yeah.
But I don't want to lead you on to falsely believe that you are number one in my headspace at that time. Obviously now things are different, and we are about to get married, and having gone through the whole journey of ups and downs and wins and losses and MMA and having your heart broken by the sport, like so many times, I've also understood what's really valuable. That what you bring to the world, what you bring to your family, those moments are really what is gonna matter. The legacy you leave behind. And when I say legacy, I don't necessarily mean like being seen as this great glorious champion.
Yeah.
Be nice to somebody. Be nice to somebody. When you talk to somebody, see them. When somebody tells you something, take note. Like those things are really what matter. I mean, like there's people that come up to me as fans, and they are excited as hell, and they've got all this inspirational energy, and they take one picture and they turn it back, and it's like all that is gone.
Yeah.
And then I have somebody tell me, hey, I really wish I could improve my diet, and I tell them 2 tips, and I see the message go through.
Yeah.
And I see the person receive that, and I know I made a real contribution. I know me and that person had a real moment. So to me, that is what is important. I still want to push this to my ultimate potential. I still want to have the journey of what this encompasses. I still want to be the best version of me. I still want to have the finances. I still want to have the position to be able to affect change.
Yes.
I still want to do that. I still want to build up the next generation in martial arts. I still want to have all those things. But to me, what truly matters at my core foundation is the impact I have on my family. What that means to me is like being a good positive force.
Yeah. You've been that for your family, your partner, and for Mitchell's Plain. Like you can see the impact you've had on the area as well. Watching
Yesterday
footage was incredible. seeing everyone come out into the streets and walk with you and celebrate with you.
It's amazing.
Crazy.
It's amazing.
You were saying in that video that you are the first professional athlete to come out of Mitchell's Plain.
Professional MMA athlete.
Professional MMA athlete.
Yeah.
Dude, that's incredible.
And also the first world champion to come out.
Yeah, there you go, dude.
And then also the future UFC champion to come out of the Cape Flats.
I love that. That's insane.
It's magical.
Yeah.
It's magical. When I look at it now, it seems normal. But when I have these moments of reflecting and I look back at, like, I remember like playing with my friends in the street. Like, there were like 9, 10 of us, and some of them ended up in gangs. Some of them ended up one of them owns a house and is happily married. Some of them ended up on drugs. And I look at all the different places we end up, and I think to myself, like, all that commitment to something so early kind of seemed foolish, but now looking back, I'm so glad I chose what I chose.
Well done.
To be who I am, really, and honored.
Yeah.
I'm honored to be myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes I catch a glimpse of myself in the morning. I'm just going to share this openly. I catch a glimpse of myself. I'm like, oh shit, you that dude.
You the person you said you were.
When I'm thinking to myself, I don't remember who I am. But when I see myself in the mirror, I'm like, holy shit, that's you, that's me, that's us. Yeah. A 16-year-old me looking at me would be shocking.
The 16-year-old used to stand in front of the mirror every day, trying to convince yourself to act out and protect yourself.
Yeah.
There's a teacher, that teacher that we want to talk to still.
Yes. Yes.
Josh, what the teachers used to think about Faeez.
Yeah.
Already teachers were a no-go.
My principal gave me the name Tommy Mick.
Okay.
Yes. So the day I came into, so I was always in his office. And even, like, it got to the point where even I actually built a relationship.
Yeah. Hey, what's up? With like your own table, everything in his office. Yeah.
And like he'd ask it, so I got hiding at school. So he'd like ask, he'd say, I have to punish you.
Yeah.
Like, and it was like therapy, and also like sometimes like a bro hangout, and sometimes he'd tell me like some of the problems that he had. We shared a peanut butter sandwich one time.
Ah, there you go. That's all it takes.
He was sitting with his, and he just said, "You." I was like, "Yeah, sure." Yeah. And then like he would be like, "Okay, now I have these 3 sticks. You need to tell me which one hurts the most." He'd give me a hiding, shake my hand, I'd be on my way, And we had that relationship. And anyway, so this troublemaker thing started catching on with the teachers.
Yeah.
And it's like, it became like these whispers, and like, it became also this thing where it's like, it was said with disdain. It was said with disappointment. It was said with like rejection. And I didn't want it to mean that. I wanted to change that narrative. And I remember one time this teacher came to Mrs. Arnold, shout out to Mrs. Arnold, my LO teacher. And she came up to me and she said to me, my boy, if you knew the things they were saying about you in that staff room, I really hope you wasn't bad.
Really?
And that lit a fire underneath me. That lit a fire underneath me. Because sometimes all you need is one person to really know. All you need is one person to tell you, you can do this.
Yeah, one person to say it doesn't have to be this way.
Exactly. You shock them. Blow this thing to the roof. Funny enough, statistic for that year, I got expelled halfway through the year.
Yeah.
So I had to go and do after classes. So I'd go every Saturday to a different school and be taught on a curriculum that I wasn't learning at school.
Jeez.
And I managed to pass my matric exams with that adversity.
Was Saturday class
Was Saturday,
completely different
Saturday class with a complete, and also just a different teacher. And
halfway through.
Yeah, halfway through, I just picked it up, and I really committed myself. I really wanted to prove him wrong.
Yeah.
And I
Again,
did.
it's that switch.
Yeah, it's that switch.
You almost applied the merciless switch to yourself. You know,
Yeah.
being like, cool, right now I am my worst enemy. Right now I am hitting me in the face. I need to beat that.
Yeah.
And you manifested beating for it, and it happened again.
But it's been a timeless metaphor for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come to think about it, I think that's my superpower.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's hearing you talk about your personal, spiritual, emotional reasoning of why you do what you do, you have a higher purpose and a higher need. So when you're holding the belt, surely I would imagine you still feel that drive for change and improvement and climbing, which is also, I wouldn't want to fight someone like that, you know, because there isn't like a finish line.
Do you know what I've done in some of my fights? I feel like in some of my fights I've broken guys with just my presence.
It's that moment when you come face to face, that like,
But the energy they feel coming off me breaks them.
Yeah.
I can feel it. I feel them hit me and lose power.
Yeah.
I feel them doubt themselves. I feel that they don't know. They don't know what that energy is. That energy is like a surging amount of electricity and self-belief that is so condensed that when it comes at you, but they want to move, they want to quit. They don't want any of that.
Yeah. That got said so many times about Mike Tyson. And there was a fight, I'm not going to know the exact fight, but there was a fight that he had shortly after coming out of prison. And they obviously have the two fighters in two separate, this kind of thing. And his opponent could just hear from the other room.
Yes.
And it was Mike hitting the wall. And he used to stand in his room and hit this wall before walking out. And the other room, apparently this fear amongst everyone of like, this guy's hitting a wall while I'm sitting there trying to get ready. And everyone would come out like flashy and, you know, the robes and the
yes.
Mike would come out in like short sleeve loud by himself, like just man, you know. And there's that famous shot, I don't know if it was the same fight, but there's that famous shot over his opponent's shoulder where Mike is just keeping that eye contact. This guy's saying, and he's like chewing on his mouth guard and he's watching him, and it switches to the opponent, and this guy's just like, you can see in his eyes that he's like, this is not going to go well, like this is going to hurt. And Mike just to walk out and just annihilate people. And he had that switch as well, that like they asked him, obviously now he's got the whole Jake Paul happening, whatever, but they asked him a while back, like, would he want to go back to it? Like, does he ever miss being that person? And he commented in saying, like, I don't recall that person, that was someone else, that his switch was so strong that he felt as though he was a different person in the ring as opposed to in his everyday life.
That is so crazy, because you can ask Lucille, especially as I've grown older and matured, I've become so much more compassionate and accepting of people. And when you look at me hitting somebody when they're lifeless, like it's completely different. The minute I walk out of the cage, I'm almost trying to feel that feeling again, because that almost escapes me. And so, you know what is also crazy? Sometimes leading up to a fight, you don't feel like that guy.
I was going to ask you in on that.
You know,
like, because obviously you're a weapon when you're in the ring, but you've also got the weight cut, the camp, the face-offs, the weigh-in. Like, where does it start to switch for you? Of like, this is real, we need to go in there. And is it the first time they come face-to-face and you get to feel each other's energy?
So when you sign the contract.
So there's different feelings that come in different stages from my experience. So signing the contract, already there's this overwhelming urge. I need to train, and I need to train as soon as possible. I need to know what I'm capable of. I need to move. I need to hit something. I need to see myself. The best version of myself is going to win this fight. So basically, you already want to be in that mode. And then you go there and you are good, but you're not yet there.
You're not fine-tuned.
You're not fine-tuned. And now you need to put into perspective. So you need to put into perspective a plan of how are you going to fine-tune each and everything. So you go through this developing stage of, is my kicks where I want it to be? Are my wrestling exchanges where I want it to be? Is my punches where I want it to be? Am I dodging the way I want to be? Is my defense is my calm Zen energy correct? Am I hyperventilating in certain positions? Does this stress me out? Does that stress? So that's the middle of gap when you're going through that. That is when you experience, from my perspective, you experience fear, you experience doubt, you experience incredible strength, you experience days where you feel absolutely perfect, and then the very next day that gets crushed, right?
Yeah.
Right there, right when you're just feeling like Bully Badass comes and whoops you. And then you start the weight cut. Now, when I start the weight cut, I generally need to be in my mind more often, but the images in my mind become more vivid. My responses become more accurate. My thinking becomes more clinical. My need for speaking just starts to fizzle. Like I start to go to this place that's just really quiet. And I can imagine that's what death would feel like from a living perspective. It just becomes really quiet. Like nothing really matters. Maybe that's got to do something with starvation, but I just get this
heightened state,
crystal clearness. And then when fight week comes on, then there's this energy, this energy comes. Oh, now I'm the killer.
Yeah.
Now I know I'm the killer. Now I'm loaded. Now I need to physically remind myself to calm down.
Okay.
I need to, like somebody bumping into my shoulder, for example, will send a shockwave up my spine. It's like this.
Yeah.
This feels like this. It feels like this, and then it comes into the back of my neck, and I feel it in my eyes, and it's like this tempered range.
Yeah.
That I can voluntarily act on.
Yeah.
I can let it come out, or I can just hold it back.
Yeah.
And it usually just works on command with my breath.
Really? You bring breath in?
So it works on command with my breath. And then I show this in glimpses.
Yeah.
I let it out in glimpses, let it out in small pieces, and then I contain it.
Because you can feel
I can feel what it is.
Yeah.
And the media days, little pieces of it come out. The first face off, little pieces come out. And then you get to the scale and weigh-ins, and you feel this energy. I just need to let this energy out, just a piece of it, before fight night.
Yeah.
And I stand on the scale and I look at the crowd and I show them what is gonna come out in that cage.
Yeah.
I show them an image of it, and then I take it away. And I go to my opponent, and then I show him, and I try and make it nice and private between him.
Yeah.
Nice and private. Look into my eyes.
Yeah.
Tell me if you see anything.
Yeah.
Because you can look forever and you'll see nothing.
That's crazy.
You can look forever and you'll see nothing. I am 100% comfortable.
You zone days.
There's nothing inside of me. Yes, I feel nothing for you.
Yeah.
And
how does that then switch? Because this is a lot of people's question with MMA. To afterwards, there's such a high level of respect, because it's like two warriors that, like, you went through the same thing I went through.
Yeah.
So
Especially
I know
with
how
the
much
Sylvester
effort you're
fight,
putting,
right?
I also just...
Especially with the Sylvester fight. Your guy's weigh-in, speaking of weigh-ins now, was... Even him was out of character, like the way he was way hyped. You were talking about that energy now. And then straight afterwards, after the finish, he finishes him in a minute. He goes... Oh, immediately there was like a hug, an embrace. They spoke. I don't know what they spoke about, but they like spoke for a minute, hugged. But just 2 days before, a day before that, it was intense.
Yeah.
It was intense.
Yeah, I think about a minute more of that and probably end up fighting each other. Because we were very much in control.
Yeah.
But we both are in the critical place in our career where we need this down. And this is our lives and our life's work we're talking about. Yeah, and we are staring at one another, and we like, there was one fight. I think he had one more fight than I did. I was 9-5 and he was 10-5, and we had walked very close journeys. And we had been around each other. We had fought the same guys. We have, I think, five opponents in common. On South African soil, in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
So, and he had taken my belt from me. So he now he had to defend that. He had to defend that, and I am the guy. I know I'm the guy. Everybody knows I'm the guy. I'm the guy that is picked as the front runner.
Yeah.
I'm the guy everybody wants to meet.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that usually does in devastating fashion. And he had to come out and he had to face that guy. And he had conquered that adversity the first time.
I see.
But now he had to prove he could beat that guy again, the lion.
Yes.
And all of that stirred up. And me coming back for vengeance. I said up in the lead up in this fight, I can't win this fight by decision. I won't even accept a submission. I have to knock him out.
Not even submission.
Not even submission. I have to knock him out. That's how I get this. That's how I cement this. That's how I draw this line. I have to knock him out.
That's our clip right there. And then
Damn, it's power.
all roads lead to this. We have a special guest here. We thought we'd invite.
Oh,
All roads lead to Bantamweight Championship.
look at that.
I mean, it's a pretty thing, eh?
Jeez, it is flipping heavy as well.
Jeez. I mean, I'd rather wear this than a crown, honestly.
Really,
I'd rather wear this than a crown, honestly.
it looks good. Eh?
Yeah, I can hang out with this.
There we go. I dig that.
It feels familiar. The weight is,
Huh?
the weight's just about right. Just the way I like it. You have to be strong to hold it.
Does it spark something in you, seeing and feeling it?
Do you know what the belt smells like?
But
If I smell it. And I'm going to let you smell it also.
I'm nervous.
Just smell it. Take a nice deep whiff. You smell that leather. You smell that cold steel.
Jeez,
That's what the cage smells like.
that's a proper leather.
Yeah. That's what the cage smells like. That's what I smell before I'm about to contest with somebody. That is the last thing I remember. The feel of the
the smells.
cold steel. The cold steel and that leather.
Jeez, that's beautiful, man.
And a little bit of smell of like coins.
Yeah.
Coins.
Jeez, that's like Jeez, that is going on like proper, and it's heavy as well.
Yeah. First time I won the belt, like I fractured my ankle and I was like walking through the airport.
Oh, that was when you fell.
Yes, I fell and I felt something snap. I felt like a rubber band being pulled to the edge.
Yeah.
And then even. That's what I felt. And just feel this sensation in my leg, and it was as if my foot wasn't operating like this.
Yeah.
So like a clutch, like trapping a clutch. I didn't have that motion. I could stabilize it, but it was like a flat thing. So I just had to.
There, but you can't do anything.
I couldn't manipulate it like I wanted to. The ankle didn't have the movement I usually had. So I had to be very flat-footed on that foot.
And still,
And still.
that's all the minute you said. But you hold this, because I don't deserve to have that on mine. I just told it. Keep it right there. I like that a lot. I went through, before we get into closing, in terms of, we'll definitely do a call out, definitely get your opinions and your feelings towards your fight as well. I wanted to look past, because what was really, really cool about this was I try to understand MMA and fighting as much as I possibly can, and it's through Dylan and friends like him that they're breaking it down. So you don't just watch it for entertainment, you watch it as like a stud, which is so much fun.
Oh yes, yeah.
And knowing your history and your chosen styles through coming up throughout so many of your fights, because watching for that this morning, there'd be a fight of yours where it was just like knees to the face, just like so many knees to the face, and so many over the top kind of elbows sort of thing. And it's like, shit, this guy's got elbows and knees. Then there's the kick to the face for the knockout, and I said, this guy can kick. Then there was the rear naked choke as well. You finished. This guy can choke out. Then it was your first round. Your title fight was against Zulu.
First fight, yeah.
And it was in a video you guys had released where you commented that the first round was the first time you'd ever felt that, oh, there's a little bit of adversity coming back here. And he'd met you with, I think it was an overhand right, had met you to the side of the face, and you ate it like it was nothing. And immediately does this, and like, oh shit, you could have hit your head in the head and be perfectly fine. So it was such a great study into your fights of how well-rounded you are. That you choose to go for knockout, but there's proof of the submission. There's proof of the kick. There's proof of the knees and elbows. Like, it's an incredible history to watch through. And then to hear you say something like, don't want the submission, I'm going for the knockout. It's insane. That like, you've got so much overall rounded skill. You can almost choose the way that you want to finish these things.
Yeah. And generally, if you formulate the plans, I've got a toolbox. I've got a tool shed. And I choose which tools I'm going to use for the job.
Okay.
Am I going to bring out the hammer? Am I going to drill this guy? Am I gonna mow his lawn? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What am I gonna do? Yeah?
Crazy.
What am I gonna bring out? Yeah. I like to
so
swing the battle axe, man. That's my favorite.
the right hand.
Swing the battle axe.
Yeah.
100%. Like
It's big. It's
yeah,
big.
yeah.
There's been, and it's why I love having the commentary going as well, because you'll see the right hand connect, and all the commentators immediately are like, like, yeah, that's how you know it's a heavy hand that's being thrown, dude. So looking at your fight coming up now, you obviously being the #1 contender for the title again, how are you feeling looking forward to that in the position that you're in now? And have you already started formulating what tools in that shed you want to start using?
It's an interesting one.
So first things first, I'm gonna set the stage a little bit. I feel as if my journey to the belt and the champion's journey to the belt, Zulu, has been chalk and cheese.
Okay.
So what happened was, it was myself, Sylvester, Sandine, and the three of us were at the top of the division. Cameron Simon was also there.
Yes.
And then myself and Sylvester went to fight in overseas
In the UAE.
UAE, yeah, at UAE Warriors. And then Sylvester came, Sandile came afterwards again. I think he went to Japan and also then UAE. And the division was left. I know it.
Okay.
There was no champion or former champion to guard the throne. And he capitalized on that. Okay, so he fought a guy that is, 4-2 or something like that? And I mean, what is Zulu Boy, like 16-3 or something?
Wow.
So he came in there, fought a new surging guy that is being developed to be champion, but not really has been a champion or has been in championship fights.
I see.
And Zulu Boy took the belt from that guy. Okay? 100% opportunity ceased.
Okay.
But coming back now, Sylvester had just beaten Sandile.
Yeah.
So they scratched each other out. I had just beaten a top contender in Barros. So I took Barros out. And then the two of us met at the top. Two former champions. And I knocked him out. I should, like, if I think about the journey to my journey to the belt and Zulu's journey to the belt, who's the champion? Who's the champion? Who's beaten the more worthy opponents in the division?
Okay.
I came back and I'm on top again. And I had gone through two absolute monsters, two guys that 100% belong at the top. So Vista and I, that should have been a title fight. Yeah. That should have been a title fight because we are beyond qualified. And now, I mean, I keep hearing stories about injuries and I don't know.
So is that all coming out now as well?
So I
That's
don't know
funny.
when the fights are going to be.
That's why Terence is fighting for the interim flyweight title now against Tumelo, because Zulu's double champ. And Zulu's
Yes.
now going for surgery, hand surgery, I think.
So when we watched Terence fight in Joburg,
That was for the vacant title.
but Zulu Boy was already starting to...
Zulu was at Bantam and whatever else, and then Zulu decided he wanted to be double champ.
Yes. I remember.
And then he came down and he fought Gift, who had beat Terence earlier
Yes.
this year, and now he's double champ. But now he's got two divisions. He's the champion of both divisions. Now there's an interim. Now he's getting hand surgery. Now there's an interim flyweight title being organized, and then now we have to wait and see when it's going to be, when Faeez gets to take him on for the bantamweight title. So does he defend the bantam first? Does he defend flyweight first? We'll see now after the surgery what happens, and that's essentially.
I think he should just leave. I think leave, get out of my way, but you'll be better for it.
Who, if that were to happen, who else would be there for you to take on?
Sindile.
Okay.
Sindile, fun fact, has also had a victory over me. Sindile, just before I went to UAE,
Yeah.
I fought him. So I lost the belt to Sylvester.
Yeah.
So now that's the win. That win I already reclaimed.
Okay.
So now I need to get Sindile next.
So there's that as well.
So sign us up for a vacant belt there. Get Zulu out the way. Zulu can go to flyweight. That's where he belongs.
Go do good.
I mean, Terence can definitely handle that. I can do my thing.
There we go.
Yeah, there's the plan. There's the pro. Let's get the matchmakers on here. Let's decide it.
Let's do it. Bring him in.
Troublemaker says it. I'm the guy. Don't I think I've got shares in the EFC, so I decide how things happen here. Zulu, get out the way. Me and you, Sandile, let's get this sorted out. Let's get to business. I've avenged one loss now. I need to avenge another one right before I go to the UFC. Shout out to Dana White, man.
Oh, I'm stoked for that. Thank you. What a champ.